So we're gonna get started on the JX Mini Therm. That product's been out since late 70s, early 80s. Several revisions throughout the time. Control updates. That primary secondary header was added to them. We're going to go over the basics. Some of you guys do the commercial may see its big brother, the Mighty Therm, the MT2. Same principle, just much larger. So the JX is going to have several sizes from 50,000 BTUs to 200,000 BTUs. Unlike the condensing products, it's on-off. There is no modulating. It's all the firing rate all the time, regardless of what is calling. One of the things I like to pitch about it, your 200,000 BTU boiler weighs 200 pounds. For you guys working in the city, it's a lot easier to carry that down the basement than its cast iron alternative. I say it often, lazy by nature, lazy man's boiler. It makes it very easy to carry it in. The design kind of offers the best of both worlds with the heat exchanger. You have your cast iron wet legs on the outside of it and your copper tubes throughout the center. Instead of having all your intermediate sections on a cast iron product, which starts adding all the weight to it, this has its copper intermediate sections. Transfers heat much faster than cast iron, 7 times faster. Gets you a little bit higher efficiency with it. You're right around 84%, but it's going to be heating up that water much faster. The accessories with it. These are all built natural gas. We ship it if you need an LP conversion. LP conversion is UPSable. Come in a little envelope for you. It's going to have your orifices and your springs. If you do an LP conversion, make sure after you've removed your burners that you put the burners back in and they're nice and level and square, and you've adjusted the shutters. If you're getting burned back through there, that's usually the culprit. The burners are not positioned correctly. High altitude, we're not high altitude here. We don't have to worry about it. And there is an optional outdoor air sensor, and we can get into that. You are able to do outdoor reset with this product, or you can use its factory thermal targeting, and we'll get into what they do as well. Other accessories with it, all of your larger models are going to come standard with that little header on there. The smaller models, 50, 70 to 100, it's optional. And all that's doing is basically doing primary secondary piping for you, making sure that boiler has its proper flow and that we're not getting it shocked with super cold water. Again, we're not doing primary secondary piping on these products because they're high efficiency. We're doing primary secondary piping because they're low mass. Same thing with these products. We're not doing it because they're high efficiency. We're doing it because there's low mass. There's not enough water in that heat exchanger. We connect it to a system that has 70, 80 gallons of water in it. I have this little bitty heat exchanger that holds maybe, if I'm lucky, 2.5, 3 gallons of water. I send out 180. I heat that water up really quickly. I've got 67 degree water coming back. Cracked heat exchanger, or it's noisy. I say often they sound like sneakers in a dryer until they don't. Once they're quiet again, they're done. Yeah, and once those things get sooted up, not too fun getting them clean again. So we want to not let this condense. I would do as much as we can to keep it from condensing. Internet lag keeps getting me. Other portion with this, it can also be power vented. One of the advantages of this over your sidewall vented cast iron boilers, if you buy a cast iron boiler that has the fan already built into it, you have to run that gasketed stainless steel vent pipe all the way to the outside. So if we're buying the kit with this and it wires right in, you don't have to get all creative. It's not like buying a Derlin or a Fields kit where you have to figure out how to wire everything. This is designed for this boiler, so it's very easy for you to wire in. One of the advantages of it is I can get this blower kit installed in that joist bay as close to my exit point as possible. So now I can run my single wall galvanized or single wall flue piping from my boiler to there, much cheaper than my AL29 4C stainless. And maybe only have to have a small section of AL29 4C to get out for my termination. Again, when we're looking at these products and we're competing against our other companies, controlling our costs is going to be key in winning us those bids. And when we have a compromised chimney where we can't vent up through that, that sidewall vent kit's going to make it much easier. No, it's not adjustable.
external of the pipe, so it's now considered cat 1. Okay. The exhaust will be
Like he's comparing it to a field controls where it would be.
No, well, field controls is they're going to have that one fit all.
Yeah.
It's that one product is going to maybe fit 9 different products. This is specifically for just the JX. They all ship atmospheric. If you get there and you get down the basement and the client's chimney is collapsed, all the chimney elves have chipped away all the terracotta. And sometimes you can't get a liner down there. That coffee can trick only works so much. Yeah, but that's where you drill the hole through the side of the wall, and I don't have to take that boiler back out. I can still continue on with my job. Hey, I need this. I need the sidewall vent kit. Get it there. Gives you a second option on it. You have your domestic hot water relay pump kit as well. That'll give you true domestic hot water priority. We'll do the interruption of the pumps for you. Talk about the power vent kit and how we would power vent it. We get that exhaust as close to the outside as possible, so we can run our regular flue piping from the point of the boiler to the termination point. So piping the mini therms. Again, we go back to it. A lot of the issues with some of the products is they're not piped correctly, not pumped correctly, and they're not vented correctly. Now, when we're installing this product, we recommend usually a 007. Is what comes on them. That 007E is capable of moving roughly around 16 gallons a minute or 160,000 BTUs. All of our larger products, 125, 150, and 200 are going to come with that low loss header on there. You would just put whatever system pump you need on the outside to move the water around. That's going to guarantee that unit gets its proper flow. We get into the smaller products, the 100, the 75, and the 50. Same thing. Rules come into play. 1 gallon a minute is 10,000 BTUs. Most of your standard home pumps are going to be just fine to move the amount of water required through the unit. 20-degree delta T, I need 6 gallons a minute. Most of your pumps are going to be more than capable of doing it, whether it's 007, 1558, B&G 100. Any of those pumps are going to be more than enough to move the water through them. Again, those ones come with the low loss header on there to ensure proper flow through the heat exchanger. Again, you don't have proper flow through that heat exchanger. You risk sooting it up. You risk rupturing it, where you're going to get hot spots in it. Talk about that. So primary, secondary piping. If you don't want to use that kit, and you want to do your primary, secondary piping, there goes your primary, secondary piping at its easiest. Pro pressing your 2 T's together, doing black iron pipe, doing copper is going to do your primary, secondary for you. Not saying it's needed on all of the products. The 150 and up, 125 and up, say it's almost non-negotiable standard. Your smaller products, for the most of the systems are going to be going into primary, secondary is not required.
So on the 125 and up, you have a built-in low loss header, connecting the heat exchanger, and you're going to pipe this series pipe, not parallel, not secondary. Pump it. Okay. The smaller sizes, accessory. So when you go back to your previous slide with primary, secondary, think about your cost of manufacturing this, right? Pro press, copper, fittings are extremely expensive. You're buying the pump anyways. Black iron, right? And then you got copper sweat. Your labor intensity here, you'd be better off, next slide, just buying the low loss header. Right?
There we go.
You buy this low loss header, it's a 10-minute install.
This lag is killing me.
And it's going to be so much easier for you to install this than on your 3 smaller sides. Sorry, Bill.
No worries. So we're talking about piping and what we can move through them. This is right out of the I&O manual. So the model size 50 needs 5 gallons a minute. Equivalent, either 75 feet of copper or 100 feet of copper is going to be your friction head loss. And it's going to basically tell you what size pump that you need there. That formula down there at the bottom is going to basically figure out your pump head loss. We usually don't know what our gallons per minute are. Gallons per minute are going to be the BTUs that we're looking to deliver. We're trying to figure out our BTU ranges. If you're doing copper fin baseboard, quick rule of thumb, every linear foot of element is 600 BTUs at 180 degrees. When you get into cast iron and convectors, there's books and charts out there that'll kind of show you how many BTUs are per square foot of radiation that's in there. But if we're trying to figure out our pump, we take our longest run, furthest point from the boiler to the last radiator, times that by 1.5, times that by 0.04, and that gives you your head loss. When we're looking to find our system pump, most of your pumps are, I'm using Taco, I know you guys are an Armstrong house. Most of our pump charts are going to have our gallons per minute along the bottom and our feet ahead on the side. And it's not vertical feet ahead, it's our resistance, and that's not additive. We're not going to add everything up. It's basically just our longest distance that we're looking to overcome. The 007 is going to be number 5. It's going to be right here in this chart. Most of our homes, if we go back to that chart, we're going to have, we'll use the 75. We have 10.3 feet of head loss. I need to move 7.5 gallons a minute. Come back to that chart, 7.5 gallons a minute. 007 doesn't meet it. Don't meet that. Don't meet that duty cycle. I'm going to be under it. I'll need a pump larger than the 007 to do it. 007 at 7.5 gallons a minute falls right in here. I max out right around 9 feet of head, so that pump's not going to deliver enough GPM to keep that heat exchanger going if I direct connected it. Gas, supplying gas to them. Gas piping sizes are going to be standard across the board for all of them. Your natural gas piping sizes. This one was stolen from Lennox. I only use that chart as opposed to ones in our manual because it's nice and clear and has some nice color to it. But we have 50,000 BTU boiler. Go back to that chart. I can run 10 feet of half-inch pipe. Will deliver me 108,000 BTUs. 20 feet of half-inch pipe will be 75,000 BTUs. So I can run 20 feet of half-inch pipe to supply a 50,000 BTU unit. Same chart as for LP. LP changes a little bit. LP is usually running at higher pressures. So your venting, where your venting categories for it, it can be a category 1 or it can be a category 2. Are going to be the venting pieces for it. We're going to do a venting into a chimney, masonry chimney. Most times they will need to be lined. And I talk about lining chimneys, and I don't refer to it as lining anymore. Oftentimes we need to resize the chimney. If we look at some of the products that we're taking out, those flue temperatures are much higher than our new products. We're all, for the most part, on a cast iron or mid-efficiency product, we're all floating around 84% efficient. At 84% efficient, our flue gas temperatures are 200-300 degrees, much lower. If we're condensing in our chimney, I got to flip these slides around. We'll put in, nice new mini therm. That chimney may look nice and square, and everything will be good to go. I may be able to see daylight when I first put it in. As those flue gases are condensing inside that chimney, and the bricks start falling down, and everything starts falling apart, it starts to compromise that chimney. Or I get to call often, hey, I keep tripping the block vent switch. I can see daylight through the chimney, but I keep tripping the block vent switch. That chimney, very large, usually a 6x6 or an 8x8 terracotta chimney, was designed to heat
700-800 degrees.
Yes, 700 degrees of flue gas temperatures. I don't have that any longer. We're floating in turkey basting and turkey roasting temperatures. 275 to like 340 degrees is where our flue temperatures are. So I'm not going to be able to fully pull a draft, or in other cases, I start to condense inside the chimney. Why does it keep skipping chart? Start to condense inside the chimney. And when it condenses inside the chimney, it starts to break down. You start getting pieces of terracotta down there. There's not chimney elves in there mining everything. It's the water getting behind the bricks and the terracotta, freezing, popping, and the chimney starts to deteriorate. You'll also get your flue gas stalling, which will cause your block vent switch to trip. I'm not pulling enough of a draft. I'm not heating it up enough. So you would look at your liner charts and how many BTUs I have, how high the chimney is, and what size liner I would need to drop down it. There are nicer ones out here than this chart here. This chart is non-discriminatory. There are other ones out there that are a nice matrix that'll guide you into what size chimney you need. But lining it, it's not lining it, it's resizing it, because oftentimes was for that 60%, 70% product where we had super high flue gas temps. But a JX and any other 84% product normally needs to be lined. Going through your chimney liner, dropping your liner down through your thimble, pulling everything out. Most of the time, the clean out down the bottom would no longer be used. You need to install a clean out on there if it's required. Low voltage terminals on there. You're going to have your low voltage strip. That's going to be for your thermostat connections, your outdoor sensor if you're using one, and your domestic hot water landings. If you're using your power vent, PV1, PV4, your interlocks for your power vent basically going to be for your pressure switches that are built into it.
So TT, DHW, you can do an indirect tank to DHW, but we won't have the pump interrupt feature. That's when you would purchase the optional relay kit. Then we can do pump interrupt during domestic. Field interlocks. What do you guys need in your installed systems today here in New York? What else system? What else? High limit. That's where you're going to win them. Okay, your field interlocks. And then John's point, 7, 8, 9 are your other ones. And outdoor sensing. If you use outdoor sensing, would be your last concern.
And the control that we're using, our low water cutoff can be auto reset, manual reset, or can be turned off. So you can have your manual reset, low water cutoff inside the unit.
But I don't think here in New York, you guys, they allow that, right? They want that at the higher point above the heat exchanger, is that correct? The water cutoff here in New York.
Really? I don't know, we install hydro levels all the time, that's in the middle of the boiler.
Okay.
They
They do allow that there. All right.
Everybody accepts that.
I was told differently that here in New York, you guys have.
In the 5 boroughs, it's maybe different than it is.
Okay.
This or something.
All right, so that's.
We are, out here, we have to do a commercial,
Right.
a commercial high limit and a commercial reset for water cutoff.
So the low water cutoff in this boiler is defaulted for auto. You can get into advanced settings and turn it manually.
The residential is not a problem, the commercial is.
Good.
Your line voltage, you would have your 120 volts in, system pump, your auxiliary power. Contact rating is going to be 5.8 amps. Boiler pumps would get wired for 1 and 2. System pump would be 3 and 4. Auxiliary power would be like your fan or field or your fan kick. Domestic hot water priority. If you wanted to do domestic hot water priority, this optional kit would give you the pump interlocked. It would basically turn off of the system pump and give the full boiler, all the BTUs to the boiler to your indirect. Again, there is no time for this. It will continue to run. But it gives you domestic hot water priority. If you're going to be doing it through like a ZPC panel or an SR panel, if you're doing multiple zones, you can do your domestic hot water priority off of there as well. So the features that are in here that I was saying earlier, that it has some of the modernized features that are in the more expensive products. It's going to have thermal targeting. Thermal targeting is kind of like, I refer also often as rate-based reset. It's going to be kind of responding based upon what the indoor temperature is. You get a call for heat, set point of the boiler is looking at 160. Get a call for heat, boiler runs for about 15 minutes. Target set point only got to 150. Next call for heat, instead of getting to 160, it's going to get to 155. And it's going to drive itself down to its lowest point where it's not going to be condensing. It'll work its way up to its highest point as well on colder days. You can thank the Department of Energy and the 2012, 2013 initiatives for this. The other portion is going to be your optional outdoor reset. And the outdoor reset is going to work just as if it would on the wall hung products, when your high efficiency products. It's going to take the outdoor air temperature and adjust the new set point for the boiler.
Thermal tarring, is that optional or that's like,
That's off. You can't turn it off. It comes on because the Department of Ed comes on because of the DOE.
hydro level does the same shit?
It's with the hydro level control.
Okay. Oh,
It's a hydro level control. It does the same thing. It can be adjusted off or adjusted all the way down to where it's very, very slow and lazy.
Has to come with it.
Yes.
I got
It has to come with it. The cars have to come with seatbelts, but you don't have to wear them.
Oh, you do. You
Well,
can get a ticket for that. No one's gonna ticket your thermal targeting.
PA doesn't really bother you. I can ride around my motorcycle with no helmet. I can kill myself all
There's no
day.
laws in Pennsylvania.
There's some laws there.
There's some.
There-
Does everyone understand thermal targeting? Got a couple guys that don't.
So thermal targeting. This is basically how it's going to come set up. We'll use an example. We have a target temp of 168 degrees. The boiler does not meet that demand. It's going to raise the temperature up to 170 until the demand's satisfied. So what it's going to do, if that demand target was 160 and the boiler shut off at 150, new set point temperature is going to be 155. It's looking to drive the boiler to its lowest water supply temperature possible. Because again, when we go to do our heat loss or we go to do our system design, we're designing for our worst possible day. We're designing for 10 degrees. We're not at 10 degrees very often. We're designing for worst case scenario. 10 degrees, I need 180 degree water to heat that home. Day like today, I may only need 150, 160 degree water to heat that home. Uses a little bit less energy to heat the 160 than it does the 180. So I increase my system efficiency, not my AFUE efficiency. AFUE efficiency is just that little yellow sticker that's on all of our boilers. It's kind of like the miles per gallon for cars. It's all the windows up, neutral, engine off, going downhill. Kind of the same thing with those. Not changing our AFUE efficiencies at all, or our fluid efficiencies, changing how much fuel that we're using and adjusting the system efficiencies. So it's looking to drive it down to its lowest temperature.
This has the setback to 10 degrees.
Yep. So basically how it's going to work, highest setting, it's not going to look to move any temperature boosts until 35 minutes. It's going to be very, very lazy. That boiler is going to have to run for 35 minutes before it even looks to raise temperature. May not heat the home as fast. And if it's off, it's going to work on and off on its differential. Your set point's 180. It's going to get down to 150 and turn back on. It's going to do that all day, every day. Turn that feature off. It's going to act just like every other boiler. We put it on low. Boost interval is going to be every 10 minutes. It's going to raise it 10 degrees if it has not satisfied. Every half hour the boiler's off, it's going to lower the set point temperature by 5 degrees. And it's going to work it back down 180, work it back down to 160. Then it'll work its way back up. It's constantly looking to drive itself to the lowest possible water temperature to heat the home. Yes. What it's going to use the least amount of energy to satisfy demand. And that's where the Department of Energy determined this was one of the good ones. There's also some of the manufacturers are using thermal purge, where the boiler will not fire until it gets below a certain temperature, or you use outdoor reset. This has the option to use either or. You put your 10K outdoor reset sensor in there, no extra control, and you can set this up for outdoor reset. We're doing our outdoor reset. We would have basically our curve. Minimum boiler water temperature is going to be 160. Max is going to be 220 degrees. And it's going to basically work off of its curve. It would be 160 a day like today. It would be looking at 160 degrees. We're kind of mild. We're not super, super cold. I haven't been outside a little bit, so if I'm wrong, don't shoot me. When I was out earlier, it wasn't too bad. When we're down at 0, as where we'd be at our higher temperatures, where we'd be at our 180, 190, 220 degrees, if that's where they wanted to have it set. So again, 10 degrees every 30 minutes if it's not keeping up with this temperature. If we got too aggressive on our reset curve, or that sensor's not sensing correctly, boiler is running for 30 minutes, it's going to increase temperature by 10 degrees every 30 minutes till it satisfies. There goes another shot of the curve. You can have your settings 1.25, 1.5 to adjust whatever your outdoor sensor may be. And there's a good chart outlining it inside the I&O manual. There we go, referring it to the I&O manual. Any questions on the JX? I know we're going to switch over to the tankless.
Kicks on. Can't satisfy that bill in 15 minutes. Elevating my temperature 10 degrees. I can't meet another demand in another 15 minutes. Keep going up. At this point, we have power outage maybe. 0 degree day. That thing's going to keep driving up every 10 to 15 minutes, and depending on what setting you have that. And it will go as high as the limit setting. That high limit is not a manual reset. It's an auto reset. So, example, if I've got it set at 200 degrees, my boiler temperature will come as high as 200 degrees. Shut off, cools down, and resets itself, and we'll just keep firing. Once we're satisfied to his point, then we'll keep dropping. Every time you satisfy a thermostat with no demand, it's going to drop 5 degrees. If you sit idle for another 30 minutes, we can drop another 5 degrees. It's going to keep working its way down. Does that make sense?
And it wants to stay at its lowest temperature possible.
Set with a 30-degree differential.
If you turn it off, there's 30-degree differential.
Coil is heat only. There's no for like a coil in it.
No coil. I don't think. No, there's no more gas boilers with a coil on the market. The Department of Energy killed them a couple years ago. While McLean used to make one size, Burnham used to have 2 or 3 sizes. Nothing. Steam has it. Steam doesn't fall under the hot water. It's a hot water boiler. Hot water boilers. The Department of Energy killed them. Exactly. But now you can get one. There's an oil boiler you can convert to natural gas that has a coil. Yeah, or it's. I used to go to OESP often, and again, I used to work for a cast iron boiler manufacturer. And they're like, "Oh, when are you going to make a 3-pass oil boiler with a coil?" I'm like, "Why? Like, you're taking the most efficient oil boiler and you're going to put a coil in it. Like, it's the most inefficient way to make hot water."
Well, it's like the same road. They have it.
Yeah, that's.
It works. It's still the efficiency's there, but you're still maintaining.
Yeah. It baffles me sometimes.
You know what?
There's an ass for every seat.
Exactly.
There is. So, to our product offering, we also have some water heating options. This is our tankless water heater. The control, if you're familiar and you like using our FT series products, the control is going to be seamless for you. The control is based off of the FT series, so you're not having to relearn how to set something up. There's 2 models to this. There's a standard model and there is the recirc model. The LT series is redesigned. It's serviceable on both the water side and the fire side. So if something does happen to the burner, we have a screw up or it sucks in something and it gets stuck in there, we can service both sides of it. It's not a sealed heat exchanger like some of the other products that are on the market. Designating 2 products, X is going to be no pump, R is going to be pump. The standard model can also be your commercial model. Flip of a switch and the changing of a setting, that thing can go to 180 degrees, and we can cascade them and common vent them. We have rack systems with venting and piping for them, so they can fit some of your commercial applications. Heat exchanger, it's going to be a stainless steel heat exchanger for it. Primary and secondary heat exchanger are both going to be stainless. Some of the competitors have a stainless steel primary, copper secondary. Some are both copper primary and secondary. We have a industry best warranty on the residential version of it. It's 15 years on the heat exchanger, 5 years on the parts. Commercial is going to knock it down from 15 to 8 years, and parts are going to be 2 years on the commercial applications. So we can put up to 16 units of these together. We can common vent up to 8 of them. We can take care of some of the large domestic hot water needs in small packages. You can combine that with a storage tank with recirc. There's not going to be many applications that we cannot take care of. It's going to have an air and an inlet water filter. With the inlet water filter, if you are in an area that is prone to getting sediment or anything with it, it is sometimes advised to put an external filter on there. It's a lot easier to clean that than it is to clean the filter that's on there. Not that it's not easy, but to get to ours, it's kind of like a aerator screen. You're going to be cleaning it a little more often. This also has a water leak sensor, so if there's any internal water leaks, it's going to shut the unit down to alert the end user, and also has a gas leak sensor. All of our components, this is going to be the standard model with no recirc pump, your air intake, your combustion blower, your mixing valve, your gas sensor, optical flame sensor instead of a flame probe, your burner, and your water leak detectors at the bottom. There's also a built-in mixing valve. Your recirc model, basically the same thing, just with your recirc pump down at the bottom. Just like on our combi versions, we are able to control that pump multiple different ways. All of our water connections are going to be on the bottom, along with our gas connection and our condensate connections. Venting is going to be off of the top. Venting is going to be 2-inch PVC or polypropylene, whatever you're allowed to use in the area. Recirc model, bottom's going to be basically laid out very similar, except it's going to have its recirculation tapping for it. That recirculation tapping does come capped from us. So if you're not using it, you don't accidentally turn it on and wash the basement floor or the room that you're working in. And there is a water leak sensor. I'm going to zoom in. Down at the bottom of the unit, there's a little dimpled piece in there where that water leak sensor is going to be. So if anything internal leaks, it's going to shut the unit down.
Resettable?
It is if you dry it out, yes. Taken out and blown off, put back in. It's not single. Or if you're working on it and you get it wet, you know what the cause of it is. Your spec sheet with it, again, it's only one size. It's 199,000 BTUs. Lowest firing rate is going to be 18,000 BTUs for it, so it is going to modulate. Trying to make it easy for the wholesalers and for the contractors. There's not multiple different SKUs. Most of the time, we're looking at it, if we're doing anything with a combi or a tankless water heater, we're looking to shoot for that 199,000 BTUs because that seems to get us our magic 5 gallons a minute, as what everyone seems to want. So as we're looking at sizing these, our output is going to be based upon our groundwater temperatures. Sometimes the big myth, we have really low groundwater temperatures, our GPMs are going to plummet. With higher groundwater temperatures, we're going to get more performance out of it. You live down there in that wonderful world of Florida, you can get almost 10 gallons a minute out of this tank. Let's say very warm water. They only have to dig their water lines down 24 inches. You can mistakenly put your mailbox post through your water line. Then you can fix it with duct tape, bubble gum too down there. It's like the Wild West.
That's good.
It is. My father-in-law has PEX pipe wrapped around his house because the internal pipes were leaking, and I'm like, this is allowed? But they wrapped them around the house and drilled holes through the block wall, and I'm like, whatever. Like, but right around in our area, we're going to fall in that bluish area. 47-degree average water temperature. We're going to be about 5.5 gallons a minute out of the product. Most of our shower heads are 2 gallons a minute. Most of our sink faucets are 1 gallon a minute. Go ahead and size it for it. I will say if you have a home that has the human car washes where they have multiple body sprays, where they have some of those units that are capable of 15 to 20 gallons a minute, you either have to cascade these or add a lot of storage. You put it into a storage tank to be able to handle that DHW load. And you laugh, I've been in multiple homes where it's like, what are we doing in the shower? it's like, what are we doing in here? Like, you have water coming from every direction. So your control panel, that's what you walk in there and you don't have to scrub up. Yes. So the control and the display are going to be very similar to the FT heating, the FT boiler series. Sorry for that. You can also get through your display, your flow rates. So if it is underperforming and the customer's like, hey, I'm running out of hot water, what are you drawing? You come to find out that they have one shower head in there that's capable of 7.5 gallons a minute. You're able to see that from that display. We're able to see what the flow is going through that boiler. Basically, it's a magnetic Hall effect sensor. Faster that water spinning is what we're going to be registering on the display. We can also go through and set our recirc time, what we're doing for our recirc, and our temperature range. We can also change it from residential to commercial if we need to elevate above the 140 degree mark. One thing I can say, if we are going to elevate our water temperatures over 140 degrees, it's going to ask you for your vent material. And if you select PVC, it's not going to let you go higher than 140 degrees. You have to tell it you're using something other than PVC in order to get it to 180. So you're going to have your dip switches just like you do on your heat onlys. Min and max fire are going to be used again for testing your combustion. Your override flow valve, it's going to be for your recirc systems. Depending on whether you're using it, you're going to override your flow valve if you're using those crossover blocks because you're not quite getting water coming back to the unit. If you're not getting, because there's crossover blocks like what Watts, I think Moen sells, and I think everyone sells those where you tie your hot and cold together underneath the lav sink or your furthest fixture. You're basically just pushing hot water into the cold water, and it's not a true recirc. So you're not going to. There's going to be a second flow control where it's going to be looking for that recirc to come back. We just have to turn it off so that function actually works. The heat exchanger. We made some changes to the heat exchanger. A lot of our competitors are using this round tube. We have a lot of dead zone where we have no heat transfer. We're using an oval tube. Gives you much more heat transfer with your flames. Increases your domestic hot water, reduces scaling, keeps that heat exchanger alive much longer. Also, the secondary heat exchanger on it, which is going to be just below it, is also still going to be stainless steel. If it needs be, if you need to, you can get into that and clean it. The top portion of that unit comes apart just like the FT boilers do, and you can clean the mesh burner, and you can clean the heat exchanger. Product's been out for a little over a year. There's only one that I know that we've had to clean, and it was the propane one, just in the like Wilkes-Barre area of Pennsylvania. Again, regulator failed, and it sewed the whole thing up, and we ended up swapping the unit out because it still wasn't right after we cleaned it. But you are able to get inside to clean it. Copper versus stainless. Copper is going to break down. Excuse me. It's going to have it's going to be weak against the condensate, and this is a condensing unit. This unit is going to be fully stainless, so it's going to be more robust and stand up against any of the condensate that's going to be happening with it. So it's big improvements over our previous product. The Mascot ST was out for a while. Different style heat exchanger. There's no U-bends in there. Cuts down on the turbulence and the pressure drop through the heat exchanger. And secondary heat exchanger was kind of like an inverted A coil, which cut down on the flow and the airflow through it. So we've improved all of that. We've taken basically listened to what the market was telling us, what we could improve on, and added all those features into this product. The burner, it's going to be a premix burner. It's going to have a fiber mesh burner. There's also as with our heat onlys on our boilers, also is a air screen to protect from any of the debris going into it. And it is a 11-to-1 turn down ratio. We can go 60 feet with 2-inch, 150 feet with 3-inch for venting. gas valve. It's going to look very similar to the ones on our heat only products. Same thing. We're only going to be adjusting it in low fire. You're going to need your T40. Do we still have the screwdrivers for them? The little gas valve screwdrivers? But we have a little screwdriver that works wonderful for getting into actually working on them. And I use the pen clip on it as a dial, so I know how far I am adjusting it. So the recirculation pump, it's going to have its own built-in recirc pump. You're going to have your return flow sensor. The pump's going to be a Grumpus three-speed pump. And we have a few ways of controlling this recirc pump. Bounce through this. There goes the recirc. Our recirc, this is doing it standard recirculation line, crossover T valve, which is going to be most of our homes where you don't have a dedicated recirc line. Is where we would have our crossover fitting at the end of the unit. We're going to have to set the programming for cross. Tell it that we're doing a crossover, then do it by a timer. Run it for 20 minutes on, 40 minutes off, 10 minutes on, 50 minutes off, so on and so on. So it's not set for constant recirc.
Does it go on automatically if it's cold? If there's a cold front, does it just wait 20 minutes?
Wait 20 minutes.
And then what happens if you run out of water?
You shouldn't run out of water.
You shouldn't.
Then you've overdrawn it, because once the tankless turns on, that recirc pump's no longer needed.
Now it's pushing back the other way.
Yeah. Once the unit turns on, once I have water running through it and I'm delivering pieces there, that pump can drop out. The unit will fire. It'll cover the unit. It'll hover the unit on. That's why when we go back to turning off that flow sensor, the flow sensor is usually what engages it to fire. So when we set it for cross, we're going to turn that flow sensor off, so it knows that, hey, I may not have flow, but I need the fire. I need to make hot water. The smart plug.
Yeah, no, that was it's
either 003.
No, it's either does it by the sensor or
With the smart.
instead of going 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Under a picture, they have a little snap. I don't
Yeah.
know.
And they all come out with it now. The Title 24 or on demand, there is a kit for this. This is required in most places in California. There'll be a little button that gets pressed in the bathroom, and it turns the pump on and gets you domestic hot water. We're not in California. We're okay with wasting water. But in California, you got to press a little button, and you can have multiple buttons to turn on in each one of your units. And you press the button, it turns the pump on and gets you hot water faster.
They love that.
Well, I have a client in New England that wires all his domestic hot water recirc pumps to Google smart plugs. So you can say, Google, turn the hot water on, and it turns it on. It's one of his selling features, one of his gimmicks that he does to everybody. He wires all his domestic hot water to the Google smart plugs. It's his niche. It works. He probably hates me that I tell everyone what he does. I tell it often, but he's like, hey, why are they going to smart plug? I tell Google, turn it on. Google, do this. I'm like, whatever works. The Title 24 is basically only used for California. They have some other things that are slowly migrating over here. They have JA14, which is they want the utilities to be able to control when you cannot use hot water in certain appliances. You'll see that initiative probably working its way over. It's pretty interesting. So when we go through our recirculating modes, we have our pulse mode, where the recirc regulator pump operates every 60 minutes, turns on and off. Title 24, where it turns whenever we press the button, or on demand, whenever the user demands it. You can run it off of an aquastat as well, or your return sensor. There are some options for your EHW recirc. The LT model and the recirc are both able to power an air handler. If we're going to power an air handler, we're going to run the unit up to 140 or higher. So you're going to need to put a domestic hot water mixing valve there. You're going to have a thermostatic mixing valve so we don't burn people.
If you can heat a hot water coil.
Can't do a hot water coil. Just like what the MPE 240 does, or the MPE.
Fan wouldn't go on until 160.
Unless you put it into commercial mode, then you can go to 160. Go up to 180. Residential, you can only go to 140.
Actually, you have to change the fan limit to go on at 140.
You just got to tell it you're using other than PVC.
No, I mean the air handler. I thought the air handler's fan limit doesn't go on to 160.
No, some of them will go down to 130, 140, depending on what model it is. But you can run it off of a connected to an air handler. It's not exactly designed for space heat, but it can work. Like you can run an air handler, you do space heating off of a tanked water heater. One. Yeah.
The thing that's got the thermostatic mixing valve, because when it comes on, when someone's in the shower, suddenly find themselves in a cold shower.
Yep.
Yeah.
20-degree water coming through.
You're running domestic water for a fan coil?
It's
You're allowed to do that?
it's in some areas it's doable. I have some pieces with this with Legionella and all of that. There's pump extras. There's third-party controls that'll do pump exercises. Yep. Yep.
And I sort of tested it in about state New York, make sure that we're.
I'm not worried about that. Like you said, Legionella, bacteria.
Yeah.
That's why the pump and the.
There's the fan units are going to have an internal control with the pump there, and it'll turn on and off and do its thing to keep the water circulating.
I didn't realize it until I was outside shoveling and suddenly saw my hot water tank exhausting out the side of my house.
So, and basically the same thing. What it would be doing. It can be done. Again, I don't recommend it. Use something designed for doing an air coil, but it's out there. And unfortunately, as a manufacturer, what some of our competitors have there, some of the specs are written for, we have to kind of match it. There's multifamilies by me that use the same thing. It's domestic hot water and an air handler. Yep. And then, yeah, that's a whole nother one. Or the Lennox Complete Heat and all those lovely pieces. So we're doing our Title 24. Title 24, you're going to press that button. It's going to turn the pump on. You're going to recirculate your hot water for X amount of times, usually up to a half hour, and it'll get your hot water there faster. Then they'll take over, and you'll have hot water. Title 24, again, is mainly just on the west coast. Your other option is going to be your crossover mode. You're going to set your control to tell it that it is in the crossover mode, so the control knows that it's not going to be getting hot water back. It's basically going to just push the water into the cold side. You're going to leave the domestic side capped. One of the advantages to this, yes, you get hot water faster. You don't have to run an extra line anywhere. One of the disadvantages, I know from when I was still in the field, so now you get 30 to 60 seconds of lukewarm water out of your cold water. So it's
win-win.
They have to push the button, you go to brush your teeth, and you've got warm.
Yeah, it's who wants to brush your teeth with warm water? I do. I don't like cold water when I'm brushing my teeth. I use yeah. If we're going to be doing common venting, we are able to common vent it, and we do have racks and pieces for it. You can, again, common vent up to 8 units, and you can cascade up to 16 units. Again, we can take care of most of your hot water demands with this system. It'll be Centrotherm or Duravent. We do have racks available for it. We have plumbing kits available for it, where it'll do all of your plumbing underneath of it as well. Put the units back to back on the racks. two racks side by side. Cascade cables are going to be the same. Need one for each heater. You'll link them all together, set them all up, and it's going to turn on based upon demand. Your venting options, concentric terminations, your vertical terminations with your adapter, your plastic rain cap piece on it. Basically going to be where you 60 feet for 2-inch, 150 feet for 3-inch, no more than 5 elbows for 2-inch, no more than 8 elbows for 3-inch. 2-inch each 90 counts as 8 feet. 3-inch each 90 counts as 4 feet. They're basically going to cut down on your maximum vent lengths. There is an outdoor kit. We live in a cold climate. We're not going to put these outdoors. People still amaze me. I got a call 2 weeks ago for someone put MT2s or the volume water heaters on the roof of a Whole Foods store in Western Pennsylvania. They froze. They split everything. They're like warranty, and I'm like, what do you mean warranty? They're like, like no, this isn't warranty. They're like frost protection. I'm like, that doesn't have frost protection.
You lose. Frost protection would have been leaving the pump in the arm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a blanket over it.
But no, this doesn't belong outside. Warm climate, Texas, California.
Yeah, we're not putting it outside here. You have pipe covers to make it look nice underneath. So you can, if you're going to have it in an area where you want it to look nicer, or it's in the closet. Yeah, or some of the living spaces. I've been in some of the converted apartments and the converted houses in and around New York, where you walk in the kitchen and the boiler and the water heater are hanging on the wall in the kitchen. It'll make it look a little bit nicer. Our freestanding racks, your on-demand kit, your little button. You can turn it on and off. The troubleshooting unit, again, it's going to have a listing of error codes with it. Basically, it's going to follow what the FT series is. Error 10 is going to be a flame loss. Goes through how to check it. Look for any of your issues, whether it's cross-contaminating, whether you have loss of flame due to running out of fuel. And again, it's 109 to 9,000 BTU gas appliance. Oftentimes, when we're swapping this out, we're removing a 40,000 BTU gas water heater. Some of the things we want to pay attention to, especially if we're doing it residentially, is the gas meter large enough to handle the load. Most of our gas meters on a residential application are 225,000 BTUs. I now put in a 200,000 BTU gas appliance. All of a sudden, my gas meter's undersized. I have to fight with National Grid, PSE&G, whoever your gas provider is, to come get me a new gas meter. I'm not sure if they're like my gas utility. My gas utility, I just cut the little wire that sends their transmitter so they can see how much gas I'm using, and they're out 24 hours. They're out like next day. I used to tell homeowners that all the time. Like, Pico told me 2 to 4 weeks. I'm like, look, I'm gonna go outside. I'm gonna cut your wire. They're gonna be here tomorrow. as soon as they can't see your gas meter anymore, they're gonna come out here. Our 11 is going to be your ignition failure. Again, same as what the FT series is. We're going to be going over to checks of what it is. These are snippets right out of the INO manual. So there are some pieces in there that will help you with troubleshooting. There's this error analysis tree to go through and double check what's going on. Error 16, I got to fix that. Kind of out of space, but that's your high limit. It overheated. Causes for the overheat: dirty heat exchanger, plugged up heat exchanger. If it's filled with calcium and another buildup, we're not transferring or absorbing the heat, will cause that limit to switch. That's where we would flush the unit. That's where you get your flush kits. You'd use whatever, your citric acid, your vinegar, whatever, to clean any of that debris out of that heat exchanger. On the tankless unit, it's going to be dependent upon your water conditions. If you're in an area where it's 11 to like 18 grains hard, you may have to get out and service that unit twice a year.
This heat exchanger is tighter than the other.
This different style heat exchanger. That heat exchanger is a 5-gallon bucket with a lid. That's basically all it is. It's basically a 5-gallon bucket with a burner on top. That's the fire tube heat exchanger. This is a tankless water heater. So the coils are in there. So we're trying to get as many
Giant flat plate heat exchanger.
we're trying to get as many passes with that water through those flue gases as possible. So we're getting the exchange rate a lot faster.
It's an open system versus.
Yeah, we're constantly putting fresh water into this. It's getting new water, new minerals, new everything, and we're superheating it. And usually, where you're going to get your buildup is the hottest sections is where all the minerals like to attract.
So follow your drains hard. And if you need to add a softener or some webstone valves, that way you can.
And again, these are multiple slides of troubleshooting that we probably don't need to go through slide by slide, but it'll go through like your error 42. Basically, it's a block vent. We can go through and we can test the transducer to see what we're doing, or check to see if the unit's filled up with condensate or if the vent actually is blocked. And there it goes, showing your vent blocked. We want to take care of these things freezing. We want to pitch them back towards the boiler. We have that condensate pump there for a reason. We don't want to pitch them outside because then it gets cold and we get these wonderful ice features outside of our homes, which we don't want that. Got to adjust some of them, but all the troubleshooting, all the pieces are in there. For the slides, I guess got jumbled together. Let's get through the error. There is a service parts kit available for it. Everyone who usually wants parts or wants things, if they're going to be installing the products, they want stuff that they can have the parts to swap in and out. The service parts kit is going to come kind of like a little box and have all the parts and pieces you need to work on it. It's going to have your controls. It's going to have your ignition transformer. It's going to have your temperature sensors, your recirc pump, your display. That's all going to be in a nice little carry case for you. So you can move everything around. You can take everything out of the case, use the case as a toolbox, or you can keep everything inside the case. So it's there. It's there.
And the service kits are also available on any of the FT products.
Yeah, the FT products have a full line of service kits for them, where it's going to have all of your gas free parts. It's going to have your control, your sensors, your igniter, extra gaskets. Even though we give you extra gaskets along with it. That's everything I have for you guys. I thank you guys for spending the time with us. The LT is going to be, that's been one of my favorite products. I've been all about that lately. Performs a lot better than what our competition has out there, and it's serviceable. That's one of the biggest keys with it. You're actually able to get in to clean it.
This thing doesn't have